Alright, hello everyone, welcome to this video where we are required to make use of our calculator to find the angle given its ratio, trigonometric ratio. And for such question, we do need to use the second function, and it will then trigger the inverse where we have a -1 coming up. Quick reminder, for angles in degrees, if it is not exact value, we do round our answers to 1 decimal place. So let's zoom in then. So for part I, right, this basically means 5 times tangent angle equals to 13. So how do I get the angle then? We will then have to divide by 5 on both sides. So I divide by 5. Then after which, to find this angle, which is using this symbol, I would then have to press it such that I get the -1 out. This is called inverse. And when you press, do make use of the fraction, you should get 68.92962, sorry, which is to 3 decimal place, 69.0 degrees, 1 decimal place. For part 2, this means 2 times cosine theta, which is the angle, equals to square root 3. So again, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. After which, then I will be able to get my angle. So when you press your calculator, do take note that you need to use the second function. And for this particular question, it gives me an exact value of 30 degrees. So we do not have to leave our answer in 1 decimal place. Okay. Now, for part 3, it's pretty interesting. Do take note. Sine 46 degree multiplied by cosine 39 degree is actually some fraction. So if you use your calculator, you will then see that this will give me some 0.59 many decimals, right? So how do we get this? Simply, we don't use too many decimals. You just have to write this down and press your calculator neatly. It works as well. And when you press your calculator neatly like this, you will get 29.207 to 3 decimal place, followed by 29.2 degrees, 1 decimal place. Alright. And let's move on to this. Sine theta equals to cosine 32 degrees over tangent 77 degrees. Again, this represents some decimal or ratio. So we don't have to be too bothered about that. We just need to key in neatly this. Into the calculator. Alright? So I will have sine -1 or inverse with a fraction, cosine 32 degrees over tangent 7 degrees, and you should an error message. Don't worry too much. This simply means that the given ratio is undefined or not applicable. Okay? And for this part is also the same. Sine inverse or -1. You should see the -1. And when I press the calculator, again it returns an error, so it is not applicable. Same goes for this. So what does this tell us for the last three part? This tells us something. This tells us that at this point I'm going to pay something here. So just bear with me. Okay, can. That if I focus on the last three examples where it returns an error message, this actually happens because the ratio for sine and cosine must be less than 1. Okay, because when it is more than 1, right, what actually essentially is happening is that because hypotenuse is the longer side, the ratio sine and cosine ratio must be less than 1. Why is this so? I'm going to just illustrate any given triangle, right? H, if this is the angle that we are talking about, this will be a O and this will be my A. Sine of this angle is O divided by H. And for a sine ratio, H is the longest, meaning this one, O, has to be less than H, the hypo. Right? Because H is the longest And this essentially ensures that the sine ratio O is always less than H. So when you have a number that is less divided by the bigger number, we will never ever get a number that is greater than 1. So this essentially ensures that sine ratio is always less than 1. Okay, or using the same argument for cosine, which is A over H, again, this is the longest. This one has to be less than H. So again, this again essentially ensures that the cosine ratio is always less than 1. It can never be greater than 1. Okay? And therefore, that is what actually is happening for the last three examples where the ratio is greater than 1. Okay? So the value of this angle is not defined. There is no angle for this. It's just not possible. And for tangent, can be for any positive acute angle, but tangent 90 is again not defined. And with that, we have come to the end of this particular video. So if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.